How you doing? Welcome to Making It Work. I'm Jimmy if you're new. I'm getting a shop open up. We're gonna spend a day in the shop. We got a whole bunch of stuff to do. We got parts rolling in left and right. You can see that we're busy. Stuff is happening. That's a new rotor. I don't know. Oh. Alright. There's some stuff going on out here. Anyway, we've been really busy cranking it out this week, opposite of the last few weeks. I got parts rolling in for the BMW oil leaks, which I told them the oil pan and the valve cover to start and might need a rear main seal. And then there's some other parts coming in for two other vehicles. There's a wind module for that Chrysler 300C. It's been out there a while. You know what I'll do, so you don't have any doubts? I'll put some clips in of the repairs or vehicles we'll be working on today. You guys remember this one. We got a beautiful sunrise this morning. It's a little early today. I got here finally a little early. Traffic wasn't too bad. We got noisy monster trucks and dump trucks going by all the time. But look at that sky, huh? It's gonna be a hot day today, probably gonna rain. Typical Florida weather. So let's finish getting this place opened up and try to get this place cleaned up and get in there and get started so that we can learn a thing or two and have some fun. Stay tuned. You guys remember this one, right? Let me catch you up. Apparently the dealership told them this module on the rear shelf, which is called an RF hub, would be the problem, not that. So I don't know if you remember this car, but I looked at it for about an hour and a half about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I think it's about a month. And it doesn't acknowledge the key. We had a locksmith come out. He said, oh, it's not receiving the key signal. So without much of a diagnosis, kind of shotgunned her. I guess that's not even a part I thought it needed. So we'll see what happens. But that's the RF hub. Two 10mm bolts and 3 electrical connectors. One's an antenna, 2 electrical connectors. I'm going to stick this in there to get them 10s out. We'll see what happens. It might need to be programmed too. I'm not sure. Out with the old and in with the new. Okay, apparently what's happening with this is the customer told them what he thinks is wrong, and that's the part we got. And that's not how you do it. But now we gotta look past the hot air intake and not worry too much about that. I've taken the run start relay out and put a fuse jumper in to force everything on so I can at least talk to modules and try to get some idea what direction to go. I'm almost feeling like the push button's not working. So let's look at codes, get the scanner on it, and then if I have to, I'll pull that push button out. We'll see how complicated it is to bypass that or simulate what that normally does, the circuits that it closes when you push the button. Maybe we can do that manually and see if it makes a difference. Let's get in there and check it out. All right, I've got my dash is lit up. 221,772 is the millage, and I've got my data up for this run start switch, all the information that it sees through this switch. When I push the switch, it should change state. Push on the brake. Nothing happens. It's like the switch isn't even doing anything. Kind of strange. Before I jumped out the run start relay, if I touched the brake, the dash would light up, but if I pushed the button, nothing happened. Putting that RF hub in there didn't seem to have done anything. I'm gonna see what's gonna be involved. Pull up a wiring diagram for the switch. I suspect something probably going on with that. We did have a locksmith here about a month ago when we first looked at this car. I spent like an hour and a half checking a couple of things, and I told him I needed more time. But I guess that's where the part came from. Instead of more time, we just put some parts in it and see what. Wow, look at that guy coming in here at like 2 miles per hour. So anyway, well, I'm just starting from scratch. We're going to have to figure this out. I've got a bunch of parts for other cars to work on, but this car's been here so long, we kind of need to get something going with this thing. Let's pull up this wiring diagram and come back. That button has a security circuit, a ground, a CAN circuit, and it has to be connected. There's no way to jump it, and I was hoping it was a 2-wire switch, but of course I knew better, but I was hoping. Hope doesn't really get you a lot. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the actuation test to turn on the ASD relay. You'll hear it click Click, and now the ASD fuses light up. And if I turn it off, the ASD fuse is powered down. So it's capable of turning on the ASD relay and all this stuff. I'm really leaning heavily towards that button, but I don't want to make them order another part, even though the first one wasn't up to me. If I tell them to order something and it doesn't fix it, then I really feel bad. I've got like another hour and a half in it so far. So I'm at 3 hours and we haven't gotten anywhere. I don't remember exactly how the conversation went down in this car because it was so long ago. This is how it goes sometimes in the industry. It's unfortunate, but it's just how it is. Because people, they'll talk to the parts guys. I've actually had them say, oh, I talked to the parts guy at the dealership and they said it's always this. And they get me something other than I tell them, and then it doesn't fix it and everyone's surprised. But anyway, we're just doing what we got to do to try to get this thing fixed for the customer. And I got so much work lined up now and they're turning customers away. And I'm just working on the same car for free now. So, not productive, but what can you do, right? Special function. I'm going to try to see if I can find a cranking test, see if I can get it to turn the starter on. Immobilizer, keys, programming. I wonder if I can look in there. We'll see something in that. Not supported, okay? Gear learning, odometer correction, gearbox, no. I'm going to hunt and peck around in here and try to see if I can find some more data. I looked in the BCM, and it also has to see what the switch does, and the BCM doesn't acknowledge the switch either. So since the locksmith said the key works and it's not seeing it, it's really the only thing left. But I'm gonna go through 6 different ways to Sunday, jumping through some hoops, seeing if I can eliminate other possibilities, what it's going to take to verify whether the switch is bad or not. I really need to get into the trunk, but it has an electric trunk release. I got to find the manual override. You see, this shows you the key fob's working. Panic. I don't have to be close. I can be out here. Oh, the key fob's working. The car doesn't see it. The RF hub is what receives it. So now it's got to be something, you know, like a broken wire, blown fuse. And the problem is there's fuses in the trunk. I need to get the fuse 33. It's a 15 amp fuse. I don't have any idea what I had done on this car before. Like I said, it's been so long, but we're going to figure it out one way or another. Well, that's strange. The button on the trunk does not work. I pressed the button on the dash just for kicks and it went. Of course, I had to pull it up off the weather stripping. It was stuck down, but very, very odd stuff. I'm also very concerned about all the Bondo here. So let's get to this fuse panel. It's under here somewhere. Here it is. I wonder what's under here though. Makes me very curious. Makes me want to look under here, but there's some stuff going on. Alright, let's catch you guys up to speed here and show you what we got going on. Find you a safe place to hang out with me. And you might notice that that keyless node for the button has no lights on the display. So that made me start going, wait a second, there's probably no power to it. So I started checking further. The 15 amp fuse in the back fuse box is good. And I found in my wiring information there's a splice right back here. So I'm testing at the red and light green wire. I'll show you what. Right now, go into this red and light green wire that's in this harness. I couldn't find the splice in here, but it's around somewhere. Poke her in here. I made a hole in the wire thinking I'm going to have to fix it anyway. So we can fix that pretty easily when we're done. Now, I don't know if that shows up on there. 2.3 volts. Not going to get it done. 2.37 volts. And my light's not on. So I ran a red jumper from my battery positive and said, what happens if I put battery voltage to it? 12.2 volts now, and I'll show you with the dash light. I'm hoping you can see it from there. I'll find out in editing. Huh? I'm gonna get my connection good again. See the light turn on? I hope that shows up. I'll have to crop it in a bit, but so I basically have a wiring problem between this wire and the rear fuse. So now we're going to focus a little bit more on that fuse panel in the trunk and see if we can figure that out. Now, well, there's corrosion right back here. You didn't know trouble was spelled C-O-R-R-O-S-I-O-N, did you? Let me get this cover out of my way. Get to my red and green wire back here and see if it's on the other side or the back side of the fuse. It's red and light green. There's a dark green and a light green. There's a bus bar in here too. Oh, look at this. What is that? You see that? See that broken wire right here? Hope that shows up. I gotta find out where the other end is and connect that back together, and it'll probably be fixed. Well, the plot thickens. See the cut wire? I showed you that. You see this fuse here? It goes to that wire. But there's power going through the fuse, through this connection, into the wire here. I don't have power over here. I'll show you. Someone has already fixed the problem with the fuse panel years ago, and now there are more problems, and there's 1.3. Now, if I move this harness around, stay now. What are you doing? Stay with me. There's something going on in here. I don't know where yet. I'm honestly looking with you right now. I have not. What I probably need to do is just run a wire from there to this repair and make it more obvious that it's been messed with. The way these wires are laying on the trunk floor, who knows what's going on in here? I'm not really sure. But I do know that my problem's in the trunk and not under the seat. So I'm gonna dig this in, open a little bit more. I even found a 15 amp fuse laying around. So people have been playing with it quite a bit. And this might have been when the customer said, when he first dropped it off, you might remember he said, I have a short, and a dealer couldn't figure it out. So more likely they just didn't want to, because it's very time consuming. It's I got 3.5 hours in it so far today, trying stuff and messing around, and I cost myself a little time because I didn't stop and think that the display around the button isn't lit up, so it's not getting power, right? Anyway, let's see if we can find it in this mess back here and either fix that wire or just run right past it. Sometimes you just grab that wire that you think you have a problem with, start pulling, and it comes out. So I know my problem is, this was like this. So my problem is somewhere around here where it's probably rubbing on something. So we're gonna fix it instead of running a whole new wire. Of course, this is corroded. That, I'm trying to cut through gently so I don't cut through wires that shouldn't be cut through. That's the culprit. That guy right there. So there's probably other wires in here that are going to be leading to trouble soon, so I'll open this up, make sure I clean all these wires out real good and retape it, and this car should start right up. We'll come back for that. I'll put a little patch on those wires where I poked at them, and I think this thing will start after that. Alright, I've got this original repair they did. I'm not going to fix all that. They cut that wire so short you can't really get to it, but I got the wire ran down in their convoluted tubing, so you can see obviously it's a repair. I'm not changing the wire color. I have plenty of wire to work with. So, and I cut back to really clean wire. I'm using these weatherproof connectors. They're like marine style. When you shrink them, they also have glue inside and seals the connection. And I know there's a debate about solder versus connector, but I don't like to solder anything if I don't have to. Like a splice pack where you're putting a bunch of wires together, that's one thing, maybe. But even the factory tends to crimp those. The rumor is solder can make the wiring brittle, and it'll break again right near where you solder it. So the factory crimps everything. I challenge you to find soldering connections on a car, except on a circuit board. But I mean, I'm not going to say they never do it. They just don't do it very often. In any event, I'm using this connector. I am going to heat shrink it with my heat gun because my battery right here has been charging for a while. You don't want to have an open flame. Although there is a heating element that glows pretty hot in here, at least it's not a wide open blue flame. Take some patience to use this thing. I don't find any other wires that are corroding through yet. That wire was on the bottom of the harness, and that's why it was the first one to fail. One of the most critical wires in the vehicle. All I gotta do now is tape this up. It should be pretty good. I'm gonna heat it a little more. You want these to close all the way down on the wire. And this is a small wire and a small connector, but it'll still go all the way down. This is cloth tape too. If you haven't seen my other videos where I do electrical repairs, the regular electrical tape works in a pinch, but if it gets hot and all, it ends up getting slimy and coming apart and just doesn't do as clean of a job. That's the end of that roll. I got like 6 rolls of this stuff I bought for my project truck. I use it in the shop because I'm a generous kind of guy. That snap back on. It's just 2 little fingers. You can pull that whole fuse panel up, but I'm not going to put all the other stuff back together till we see if this thing will fire up. Now the problem is they had me change that RF hub. Hopefully that didn't mess things up a little bit. Key not detected. So yeah, I bet you it has to be programmed now to work with the key. Let's see if we have any new codes. I took my jumper out of the, because I had bypassed that relay I showed you earlier. I took that jumper back out and put the relay in. So it's turning things on now. We got our light. I just wish it was going to ignition. BCM 2 faults. RFH TPMS, radio frequency hub. I was not getting this. Module was not communicating before. So we're on fire. Once we get a locksmith out here to program that module, they do the keys and all the other components I think are part of that. So we'll have to see. System voltage, trying to pressure, beep, 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 boop. Integrated center stack. We had that one before. HVAC, ESM. Enter. Read fault code. It said no fault code, but no DTCs. Go to data stream, see if it acknowledges the key and the brake switch. Commanded ignition status. Fob 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Gracious goodness, that's a lot of fobs. Ignition position. Invalid key inside searches. I'm going to light these up. Alright, let's not do that. Brake switch pressed. Commanded ignition status. Ignition lock. Yeah, it's blinking that button. So, alright. Key not detected. And this, I showed you earlier how that key works. So now it's just a matter of programming it to that hub we've installed. I could put the old one back in, but either way he's going to get it for free. We can't send it back. Once I open the box, that was it. So let's see what's next. We're going to have to push this out and wait for a locksmith. Alright, after a brief discussion, good point. And if we're not going to charge him for it, why would we leave it in the car, take it back out? Not that hard. That's what we did. So it should start, I hope. There you go. That's a mean sounding V6. Hang on to your shorts. What I am going to do too is I'm going to go back out and do a clear on all these codes so that we start fresh. It may want me to shut the engine back off. Engine cannot be running. I'm sorry, Chrysler. My bad. Okay. Now it'll clear the codes. Key not detected just because it's a couple feet away. I'm guessing this is also probably weak. Now it goes away. I'll pull it over here. It's key not detected. So, alright, the ABS problem comes back. That's a separate issue. I'm calling this one done. This is how I started looking for splice packs and stuff. There's Identifix is super handy. It's like all data. Connectors in case I had to go into the tip them and look for power there. This wiring diagram shows the bus bar and fuse. This is the circuit I was messing with. Goes down to that RF hub and to the key. So, anywho, it's all done. Look at this gem. You guys remember this one from the other day? The oil leaks all over the place so bad that it was really hard to tell. I knew the valve cover and the oil pan were leaking. That's where we're going to start. Rear main's a separate job. Transmission's got to come out for that. So we got boxes of goodies right there. I think you got spark plugs too. I guess they added that. We're going to do spark plugs as well while we're in here. So got this cover coming loose, and they got these little push pins in here too. There's a valve cover. What's the big deal? It's easy. 4-cylinder valve cover. That's going to be fun. What are you worried about? The sound insulation stuff is not doing good. The plastic's all broken where it attaches, so it was just kind of laying on the engine. I don't even know how it goes in there. Oh, we'll figure it out. I think on this thing you got to detach the fuel rail and stuff, because yeah, these trap the valve cover in there. That'll be cool. I gotta look the procedure up. I hope I wasn't supposed to make them order that. Some of these are reusable, some of them aren't. A lot of them say you can't reuse them, and you really can, but you always got to be cautious, because oftentimes those warnings are important. Not a lot of help in Identifix. I had to go into all data. There's a tie wrap back here, which means someone's been in here already. This might be, I don't know, 3rd or 4th valve cover. It does have 70,000 miles on it. It's BMW. That's why I recommend the valve cover, not just the gasket, because apparently there's lots of problems with cracking and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But it says it's okay to take all these off. Of course, they want you to replace all the bolts. I'm hoping that it comes with bolts. But if it doesn't, that's fine. We'll be fine without them. What you got to understand too, a lot of these, because the engines are made out of magnesium, then the bolts are aluminum, so they are very fragile. You got to really pay attention. If the bolts are stretched at all and the threads start to neck down any place, it means they stretched. Then you definitely can't reuse them. We'll cross that bridge once we get to it. Right now my horse is tired, and we're just doing what we got to do to make it work. We got to take even this little electrical connector. That has to get unbolted because it sandwiches the valve cover down underneath it. The valve cover is open in the middle, and then obviously there's perimeter bolts as well. So there's a lot going on in there. But luckily the coils, they don't have any bolts holding them. Just these really cool clips. And they're really in there most of the time. Yeah, there you go. You just get pushed in with no bolts. BMW stuff. Now some of the connectors unclip, some of the connectors unbolt, like these guys. Uh-oh, other way, my bad. I used on when I should have used off. Completely accidental. It wasn't just for the show, even though it might have seemed like it. I didn't take the spark plugs out yet, just because you saw me drop that nut. That would be bad. These connectors have a little tab. It's hard to see, but that little tab is what lets it out. Let's see if I can get one here. Move my light a little bit. You can use a pocket screwdriver, whatever you like. I just happen to have these pliers in my hand, so they'll work. Uh-oh. I think they'll work. They worked on the one before I turned the camera on. Uh-oh. Not bad. You guys fell right as I got it off. That'll happen. 2 more. Don't pull too hard on the wires, but they can handle a little tug, but nothing crazy. Don't go all Hulk on them. practically out already. Now these are under pressure if it's been running very recently, but luckily this one's been sitting a while. So when you crack this, don't ever put your face or fingers nearby. The pressure has dropped quite a bit after the engine's off. You definitely never want to crack these with the engine running, because you could be dealing with thousands of PSI and have a really bad day if that happens. But with it off, it's just a little and then there's no more pressure. So not like the old fuel injectors where it was only 40 PSI or so. These things can be in the thousands. That's why it's all metal. Cool Torx head wood screw. This is the little guard for the fuel rail on the back. We got to take this out of the way. We got to take the high pressure pump out. This is a Torx instead of a socket. It's a regular Torx. 17s on the fuel lines. Got to get a seal for that too. I hope we got that. All this is a cam driven pump. It takes low pressure fuel from the fuel pump in the tank, and the cam runs a little plunger to step the fuel pressure way up. Kind of like a diesel. It's almost the exact same thing, really. I believe the diesels use more pressure, but I don't claim to be a diesel expert. Get my wrench back, trying to steal wrenches and stuff. Oh, Franz, what have you guys done over here, man? This little harness, clips on here. There's a couple little connect clips, and this little, it's like a wiring harness bracket. Pops up off the valve cover, I believe. I'm getting somewhere now. More wood screws. Nope. Try to take these off kind of evenly, because you're basically dealing with camshaft, follower and stuff like that, so you don't want to get too wacky. A little at a time. Now, you can almost see the valve cover. I'm going to take this off. I got to figure out if this fuel line is going to be an issue or not. I can do that with it. I'm getting pretty close. Little baby Torx sockets. Loudest safeties on earth. Okay. I see, that's just a cover with a gasket in it. Thank God they started up again. It was way too quiet. You want more of a shop environment. Otherwise the content's not legit. I think these only go like 10 Newton meters. I'm remembering something strange about these valve covers, and I think the vacuum pump. I want to say these sons of guns over here at the Broken Mechanical Wonder Engineering Department, I think the valve cover goes down the back and goes around the vacuum pump back there. I think I have to take the vacuum pump out. I'm going to get the new valve cover out of the box and see if my memory is correct. I just had a haunting flashback. Don't worry, it's nothing but the best. The Spectra Premium. You wouldn't want to get it from BMW, because it's too expensive from BMW. This is an oil pan. This is an oil pan. It comes with the gasket. I thought he said it didn't come with the gasket. Maybe he meant the valve cover and I pulled out the oil pan first. To do this oil pan, which is what we're doing next, you got to basically take the whole front suspension out of the car and use a brace to hold the engine up. But we haven't got past the valve cover yet. Must be in that box. I also doubt very much that it comes from BMW, but it might, I don't know. That's just what I recommended, but I don't know what I'm doing. And if I yell at them, they say, well, it's way more expensive. I'm like, why do you think that is? Oh, look at this. I can feel it already. We got trouble. And there it is. The vacuum pump hole. Who makes this? Euro Parts. Nice. What could go wrong? It does also come with the gasket in it. Gaskets in here. Gasket right here. Gasket there. All the bolts. Vacuum pumps held on right here. Cool. I don't think we'll have any problem. And we did save money. That's the good thing. The vacuum pump, I think, is held on with a couple of Torx head bolts into the head. That little hole in the valve cover that's up top here doesn't go to anything. It might have gone to that fuel line bracket. It's a glamorous part of the job. I'll mess with these for half an hour and we'll come back. My other one got too big, so I had to go to my special gear wrench bit set. Fits in an 8mm socket or wrench, so I can go down a quarter drive. I think the other bolt I'll get from the driver's side. Look at that son of a gun. All that trouble. There's 3 bolts holding this vacuum pump on, not 2. I told you it's been a while since I did one. I don't remember all that, but whatever. They're not going to stop me from fixing it. I'm determined. They can put as many obstacles in my path as they want. They're only making it more expensive for people who buy their junk. I mean cars. Slipped, I didn't mean that. I apologize, my BMW buddies. I think these will lift off, but I'm going to take them off just in case. I got to take them off either way anyway. Aha, I knew I felt like there was another one. Don't give up yet. We'll get it. Last half a turn will get you. Everything looks pretty good in here. You see that copper in the oil everywhere. I hope that's not a sign of some major problem and it's just something they put in there. I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that before, so we're going to learn something when we get this all done. I don't see any scoring on cam lobes or anything like that, so, but I just don't get all that copper. Alright, carry on. We got it cleaned up a little bit better. We're going to wipe it down one more time. There's no silicone to put on here because there's no joints. And I'm already spotting a couple spots I missed. No, that's a stain. You got to be careful of wiring and stuff in the back. You don't want to pinch any of that in the valve cover. And we can drop this thing on. The chain does have some slack in it. So that's going to end up being an issue. But right now it actually runs really good. It's quiet. There's no cam timing codes. We can get it to hold oil in it. It might live a little longer. Check my wires again. There is a sequence they want you to follow. Printed it out. I got it on the old dashboard so I can look at it. Basically the bottom line is they want you to do the front, the back, the sides, and work your way around and do the center last. It's probably something you should follow. usually stick to the center out, do the center last, and the outer center bolts, sides, corners, then the middle. You're good. Hans and Franz have done something extraordinary. I gotta torque them 10 Newton meters. Alright, that's all torqued. Oh, by the way, watch out for those hood latches, because they'll bump you in your head a little bit. But don't worry about me, I'll be alright. It's all about the content for my people. This doesn't have seals for these. I'm a little sad about that. I honestly thought it would. Now I realize they're on the sensors or solenoids, wherever they are. Anywho, they're going in. They're easy to change later if they're leaking. That vacuum pump. That vacuum pump's like half the job. I put the spark plugs in here. These are cool. They're 12mm thread, 14mm 12-point socket, and the plug's also angled where the spark plug tube is. It's not straight, the plug's like that. So you got to use a wobbly extension. Otherwise it kind of smacks into the cylinder head.
Talking about how dapper they look like they were dressed up to go to
BMW says do not put dielectric grease on their spark plug coil boots. So I don't. I only got one thing left now, and that is this one. And this is not working because the clip's broken from the last time it was fixed or tuned up or whatever it was. Probably had a gasket put on it at some point. All right. That ain't no special wrench.
But a lot of people are going to go, whoa, that's what that was for. Can you do a video where you hold the inch up with that?
I figure out where these parts go. Something's not right. That copper stuff's up here in the oil filter housing. That is... I'm gonna look that up online before I do the oil pan, the big stuff. That's like 7-8 hours worth of work. I'm gonna have to look something up and see if this copper stuff is an indication of a problem in the engine. It looks to me like the plastic's brittle and it's coming apart. We've been trying to put it back together, but you see pieces keep breaking off. Pieces keep snapping off in here. We're gonna have to get a new cap. The problem I'm having now is there's so much copper in this engine. It could be bearing babbitt, but it's way too quiet. The engine makes zero noise when it's running. Very strange. But this oil filter's definitely collapsed, so it wasn't getting filtered. So I know one thing, we get the oil pan off, we'll know more. We're gonna have to get a new cap for sure. All right guys, closing up, pulling this truck, and I appreciate your company today. Hope you got something from it. Remember, you're awesome. See you in the next video.